Greetings and welcome to Newsm TV. I am Makanaka Masenyama. Stories making the headlines. Doctors react angrily to dismissals. In the courts, former GMB boss sued for $1.5 million. In business, beer consumption volumes plunge nearly 50%. In sports, Zimbabwe launches women's rugby talent quests. And now for the news in detail. Civil servants' top negotiating body Apex Wednesday tore a petition meant to be handed over to Finance Minister Mthuli Ncube, arguing government has displayed insincerity and intent to cheat its workers before declaring an end to any future dialogue. Speaking outside its PSA house after a foiled march to the Ministry of Finance office, Apex chairperson Cecilia Alexander said government was taking them for fools before calling on all those with cameras to record her tearing the petition as confirmation that talks between the two have failed.
And they are being made to act against their conscience. Saka isu zvatarambidzwa kunomacha ndoda kuti vane makamera muone ndo petition yatarambidzwa kusvitsa iyi takuibvarura hatisisina kwekuenda
The demonstration was attended by dozens of mainly teachers and largely ignored by the rest of the civil service, with the government operating barely affected. Teachers, like doctors, are demanding payment of their wages in US dollars for equivalent at an interbank rate. Zimbabwe Hospital Doctors Association Wednesday reacted angrily to government's move to dismiss 77 doctors following disciplinary hearing over a 2-month-long strike by the medical practitioners. Cabinet on Tuesday heard that 77 out of 80 doctors who were held before disciplinary hearings across the country had been found guilty and discharged from their contracts. This followed an October order by the Labour Court declaring the strike over pay and allowances illegal. Speaking at a press conference at Parengatwa Hospital in the capital, ZHDA Treasurer General Tapiwa Mgofa described government's action as uncivilized.
The Health Services Board has been mandated with a simple task to resolve the current ongoing impasse, to resolve and to negotiate with doctors so that the situation can return to normal. But shockingly, they've showed barbarism by trying to resolve the impasse by firing the few doctors that the country has, which is kind of shocking to us and which is a move that comes without solutions. We are still shocked and we want to hereby denounce the decision by the Health Services Board, and we encourage them to come back to their senses and realize that it is these doctors that the Zimbabwean the ordinary citizen is relying on.
Doctors in Zimbabwe's biggest cities, Harare and Bulawayo, have been on a job action for over 2 months now, citing incapacitation, forcing public hospitals to turn away patients. The Constitutional Court has dismissed MDCT leader Thokozani Kupe's application challenging her expulsion from Parliament in April last year. Kupe, who was the MDCT proportional representation member of Parliament, was expelled from the August House after MDC Alliance President Nelson Chamisa wrote to National Assembly Speaker Jacob Mudenda claiming that she no longer represented the opposition party's interest. Subsequently, Kupe approached the Concord, challenging the recall, arguing it was unprocedural and that the MDC had violated its own constitution. Chief Justice Luke Malaba, in a brief judgment, dismissed Kupe's application. The full text of the judgment and the reasons thereof, according to Justice Malaba, will be released in due course. Kupe was represented by constitutional law expert Lovemo Maduku in the application. Britain has urged President Emmerson Mnangagwa's government to intensify its fight against corruption and improve its human rights record. The UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson's envoy, Harriet Matthews, who is also the Director for Africa in Foreign and Commonwealth Affairs, said this after paying a courtesy call on President Mnangagwa at his Munumutapa offices Wednesday morning. Speaking to journalists after meeting Mnangagwa, Matthews said she was in the country to assess the situation on the ground.
The key thing here that we've had a call for is, after conversations with His Excellency, candid, open conversations with senior leaders of the opposition, civil society, we've met women's groups, we went to Epworth, we've met development partners, and we've really tried to get a sense of what's happening on the ground. And so the first thing, I think, is a call for a real step change, a step up in the reforms, and in particular on human rights and on corruption. Second, I want to stress that the UK is a very close friend of Zimbabwe and the Zimbabwean people, and we want the country and the people to succeed. And one of the things that we've seen here and been very concerned about is a deteriorating humanitarian situation. So the UK is going to step up its work in that area. And obviously we're also calling for the government to also step up its response to that situation.
Foreign Affairs Permanent Secretary James Manzo said the special visit was an indication of the continued re-engagement between Zimbabwe and UK. In the courts, former Grain Marketing Board Chief Executive Officer Samuel Muvuti has been slapped with a $1.5 million lawsuit after he failed to return the money which he borrowed from CBZ Bank Zimbabwe. According to court papers sometime in January 2016 in Harare, Muvuti and CBZ Bank Limited entered into a written credit facility agreement in terms of which the plaintiff advanced to him a facility which would not exceed the aggregate limit of $100,326 at any one time. In breach of the credit facility agreement, Muvuti failed to repay the amount advanced as agreed between the parties. The company said efforts to get the payment from Muvuti have been fruitless. In business, Delta Corporation Limited has recorded a 48% larger beer volume decline in the first half of 2019, which it has attributed to the erosion of disposable incomes. Presenting the trading update for the second quarter and half year ended September 30, 2019, Delta Corporation's Company Secretary Alex Makamure said larger beer volumes declined significantly. The country's largest beer manufacturer admitted the increase in alcohol prices was also a major factor which pushed the product's affordability beyond the reach of its customers. We end with sports. Zimbabwe Rugby Union has embarked on a nationwide campaign to unearth the next generation of national women's sevens rugby team players. The plan is aimed at building a new-look squad following a dismal campaign in the Africa Women's Sevens tournament in Monastir, Tunisia last month. The Lady Cheetahs, as the national women's sevens side is affectionately known, finished a disappointing 8th out of 12 participating teams in the Continental Championship, which served as a qualifier for the 2020 Olympic Games to be held in Tokyo, Japan. In a bid to find new players who have the potential to shine in the cycle of Olympic qualification, the local rugby governing board will stage 3 talent searches across the country. Reporting for newzimbabwe.com, I am Akanaka Masenyama. For this and more stories, visit our website www.newzimbabwe.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel, NewsMTV.